What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Mark Carney's walls are closing in on him, and things are about to get real shaky in the House of Commons. Now, Northern Perspective had put out a video a few days ago talking about the caveats and hidden policies behind Bill C-15, which essentially would grant Mark Carney and his cronies immunity from things like conflicts of interest and more parliamentary privilege over the next 6 years, essentially allowing them to skate anything they want with other companies or give exemptions to companies into the House of Commons, mostly to protect Mark Carney from things like Brookfield. When it comes to the MOU in Alberta, and a lot of people get upset about this MOU, but honestly, there's a lot of things happening in the background that make this beneficial. I'm going to get into that in this video. It's just another opportunity for Mark Carney to once again make sure Brookfield and those involved profit off of Canada's current situation. That's Liz Truss said it best, that what's happening in Canada right now is exactly what was happening in London. Mark Carney bankrupted the Bank of London, or the Bank of England. Why I keep saying London? The Bank of England. There's rumor going around that we're going to see Canadians heading back to the polls. Some people were saying it was going to happen sooner than later. Others saying maybe later in the year, next year. I'm going to get to that as well. Before we get into it, let's paint a picture on how things really are bursting at the seams, that Mark Carney can't hide the corruption anymore in the House of Commons. He's run away so many times. In fact, when we look at Mark Carney, you might see this in the future. Shout out to the National Roast. His memes are fantastic. Mark Carney, of course, running away as always. The National Roast presents The Running Man. This is the version of the movie I do not want to see. Mark Carney escaping the House of Commons. They won't even sit in the House of Commons anymore. Anytime Pierre asks, what's going on with pipelines? What's going on with your commitments to things? Mark Carney just runs away with his little folder of investments, and he thinks he doesn't have to answer Canadians. Well, now we've got here Andrew Lawton coming out. Here's Gen X coming out today. Andrew Lawton accidentally committed the greatest sin in Ottawa. He asked the debate commissioner, Michael Cormier, a real question. What exactly do you do for your $160,000 to $190,000 part-time salary? And right there in broad daylight, the man collapsed into a black hole of his own description. Take a look here. As he points out, imagine pocketing nearly $200,000 a year to plan debates that vanish like mythical creatures, coordinate with people who aren't in the room, review documents that never see daylight, safeguard democracy at the end, or at the speed of a government coffee break. Take a look at how it starts, and then we're going to follow up. Let's go, folks. Very painful watch.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Cormier. So the Leaders Debates Commission was established in 2018. So in the last 7 years, how many events has the commission hosted?
In debates?
Yes.
3. 2019, 21, and 25.
Okay. But each debate has actually had 2, in English and a French.
Yes.
So 6.
Yes.
So you've done 6 things in 7 years, correct?
We've organized 6 debates in 7 years.
Okay. And what do you do on a given day?
Pardon me?
What do you do on a given day?
On a given day?
Yes.
Well, we have weekly meetings we have a small staff, a full-time person who actually does.
Okay, so we'll just cut off the word salad and the mumbling because we got to get to the meat and potatoes of this. He goes on to talk about how they essentially sit around and do nothing. Andrew Lawton gets him to admit that his salary is somewhere between $160,000 to $190,000 a year. Here's where it gets interesting.
I'm just having trouble understanding what exactly it is you do here, because we have a situation in which if the Leaders Debates Commission were to go away right now, and there was no commission in 2015, it wouldn't mean we would have no debates. In 2015, there was a Maclean's debate, there was a Globe and Mail debate. We had no shortage of debates. And I believe it was another committee, previously heard testimony from Paul Wells, who was involved with the Maclean's debate, who I believe said they could have had 60 of their debates for the price that your organization did one. So why is this necessary, and why is it necessary even between elections to have this commission?
Maybe you should put that question also to the government, you know.
Maybe you should put that question to the government. This is why we need Doge in Canada. Right now, when you look at this, when you look at the, the Nation Building Projects Office that Mark Carney allegedly put in Calgary, which has nobody working there. There is no office. It's one person making over $400,000 a year. The waste is ridiculous. Now, I talk about how the walls are closing in on Pierre. We're going to get to that because the Conservatives are introducing a motion tomorrow that are essentially going to put the spotlight on the Liberals and continue dismantling their party with this MOU. But first, I want to highlight more government screw-ups. The Conservatives are going to be forcing this pipeline deal this week. You've got Tom Mulcair coming out. Mulcair exposed the Liberal survival plan, stall, distract, mail checks, pray Canadians forget. The government is finished. Spring session will be a mass casualty event for them. Poilievre is hammering them so hard, they're terrified to sit in Parliament. There's a Green Party revolt, Liberal infighting, NDP chained to a sinking ship. Carney hides from question periods. They're not governing. They're barely holding on. If they believed a word of their own polling, they'd welcome a spring election. Instead, they just want May or June, so the boomers, and we're talking about Liberal voters here, will not stay home because it's too cold to vote. Canada deserves a government that isn't afraid of its own record. Listen to what Tom Mulcair says here. He's pretty spot on when you look at the voting habits of people and why the Liberals are trying so desperately to flee the House of Commons and wait for a late spring, early summer election.
If you look at the numbers of Mark Carney, he's way ahead of Pierre Poilievre in terms of personal popularity. The parties are not, that far apart, but the Liberals still have a lead. There's going to be strong pressure to go sooner rather than later to an election. My thinking is still they're going to try to muddle through the spring session, and they'll either go May-ish, after they've tried everything that they can and they realize it's not going to work. There's actually a strategic reason for that as well, because Liberal voters tend to be older, and you don't want them voting in the middle of the winter. You want them voting with better weather. That's why April 28th was a magic date last year, because the weather had started getting better at that stage. The other thing they can do as a trick is they can make it to June, use the summer to give out checks and be nice to everybody, and then come back in September and have the election. The House will not even have to reconvene. That doesn't give Poilievre his very good soapbox that he uses to very good effect. He's a great opposition leader, and he won't have that soapbox, and everybody would be plunging straight into an election. That's the other option.
So when you look at an election, and this is where I try to break that down, because Mulcair kind of has it laid out in a good way here, that where people say, well, why don't we just go now? Ideally, in a winter election, Conservatives would poll better to win. Because people who are fed up, they don't care about the weather. They just want to get out and vote. What you're going to see in the House is more stall tactics, more running away. Tomorrow, we're going to see one of the biggest embarrassments of the Liberal government. You've even got Elizabeth May, who said she wasn't going to vote in favor of the budget. Then she did. Well, now Canada Proud's pointing out, when asked if she'll support future Liberal budgets over the weekend, Elizabeth May said, never say never, despite the fact that she said, I will not make that mistake again, less than a week earlier. This is the hypocrisy of government. It's all about the checks, folks. When you see that video clip of the guy talking about his $160,000, $190,000 part-time income for a year, it's all about money being funneled into their pockets. This is why Mark Carney has amended C-15. This is why Mark Carney wants to make sure that there's parliamentary privilege for those who have conflicts of interest like himself. You now have the trade talk discussions. I know we're stalling on getting into Pierre Poilievre. That's the coup de grace here, folks. We'll get to it right after this. Trump was asked last night, will you restart negotiations with Canada? Well, let's take a look at what Donald Trump has to say.
Named after Melania. What did you talk about with Prime Minister Carney and Mexican President Sheinbaum when you were here just a few days earlier?
Mexico and Canada, we met with the, as you know, I mean, it was pretty well, a lot of people were here, right here we met. And the Prime Minister of Canada, President of Mexico, and we spoke for a half hour. Very good, very productive. Talked mostly trade.
Will you restart negotiations with Canada?
Oh, look, I have a great relationship with Canada. They're very tough traders, but I have a very good relationship with the Prime Minister and with Canada.
And you had said you would halt those negotiations earlier after the tariff.
Well, I have halted them.
And so will you restart them?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the problem is Canada makes a lot of things that we don't need because we make them also. But we'll work it out. Look, Canada's a special place, and they really are good at ice hockey, aren't they? Mr. President.
Look at that snub. They're really good at ice hockey, aren't they? He takes a dig at Canada. He should. He should. It's an embarrassment. So the trade talks aren't going to go anywhere. Mark Carney's not going anywhere. He's running out of the House. This is the difference between him and Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau at least had the backing of his party, whereas now with this MOU, Mark Carney has launched the Liberals into catastrophic proportions. They're at each other's throats. You have Stephen Guilbeault stepping away from his cabinet. You've got other ministers saying, well, hey, we're all about green energy. This is all green, green, green. Mark Carney keeps saying, shut up. I got you 600% in carbon tax increases. Of course, Stephen Guilbeault saying that in an interview over the weekend that, hey, these industrial carbon taxes are meant to replace the carbon tax that they lowered to zero. They didn't get rid of it, folks. Well, now Pierre Poilievre's calling that out. Let's get to what we said. We're going to highlight the Clown Broadcasting Corporation because it's always funny, folks. And then I can't get any strikes saying that the content is misinformation, seeing as this is a government-funded propaganda network. Conservative motion is going to force Liberals to put up or shut up on oil pipeline support. So when you look at the MOU, and a lot of people don't know this about the MOU, they just automatically think, hey, Alberta's paying 600% industrial carbon tax. We don't do anything unless there's significant movement on a pipeline. So if Mark Carney stalls, if he runs away, if he does everything he's already been doing, talking and not delivering, nothing goes through on Alberta's end. So people need to settle on that one. It's not going to happen. This deal is never going to go through. Tom Mulcair even said in an interview over the weekend, this motion is nothing more than fun for Pierre Poilievre. What it's going to do is pull out the hypocrisy, because Mark Carney has been constantly saying, look, we have a promissory note to work with Alberta so long as they implement new taxes, so long as they do everything we tell them to, they jump through the hoops we tell them to jump through. And Pierre's saying, well, look, if you want to build a pipeline, just give us a date. Just put shovels in the ground. Tell us when you're going to start the project. So anybody worried about this MOU, as of Tuesday, it's going to crumble and fall apart. And I think that the Conservatives know this. These are the things that are going to give Pierre his gains between now and whenever we head back to the polls. The hypocrisy and stall tactics of Mark Carney to simply pad his pockets. Conservative leader Pierre says his party's upcoming motion, which borrows language from the new Canada-Alberta Energy Agreement, is meant to force Liberals to put up or shut up on whether they support a new pipeline to the Pacific Coast. The only thing that needs to happen for the project to go ahead is for the federal government of Mark Carney to get out of the way, grant a permit, and let construction begin, Poilievre said in an interview on CBC News on Sunday afternoon. So this is where, again, people are going to say, look, Alberta didn't ask for a pipeline. No, we don't want a pipeline. We wanted 9 bad laws to go away. We wanted to be taken seriously at the table. Pierre knows that we're not. Danielle Smith knows that we're not. Mark Carney thinks everybody's stupid. He hasn't put a date on anything. He's just toeing the line, kicking the can down the road. On Tuesday, the Conservatives are going to put forward a non-binding motion that will require Liberal MPs to decide whether they support the construction of one or more pipelines that can export at least 1 million barrels a day of Alberta bitumen from a BC port to Asian markets. So if they deny the motion, like again, this isn't about Alberta needing a pipeline. If they deny the motion, it just shows that the Liberals will not and cannot vote in favor of any deals with Alberta. And here's the kicker, folks. If Mark Carney tells the Liberals to vote in favor of it, they're all going to be at each other's throats and the party will dissolve. It's a win-win either way. Keep in mind, all it would take at that point is for the Liberal Party to self-destruct, we go to the polls, and Alberta gets that pipeline, and a Conservative government gets rid of the 600% industrial carbon tax. Do you guys see how it all ties together? The motion also mentions an appropriate adjustment to the oil tanker moratorium act, while respecting the duty to consult Indigenous peoples. The wording of the motion is similar to the federal government's energy agreement with Alberta that was signed in late November, but omits conditions Alberta agreed to in exchange for Ottawa support, like strengthening its industrial carbon pricing system. Keep in mind, there is no tanker ban for the United States, just Canada. Poilievre said if every Liberal supports his party's motion, then maybe we can get some shovels in the ground, but if there are detractors, it would mean there is no commitment by the Liberal government to actually get a pipeline going. Again, very crafty. They're exposing the hypocrisy of the Liberal government, and this is what we mean when we say the walls are closing in on Mark Carney. There's nowhere left for him to run. It says here, a spokesperson for Liberal House Leader Steve McKinnon told CBC News on Sunday morning there's nothing to say on that now when asked whether a decision has been made on how Liberal MPs will vote on the Conservative motion. CEO of Polling of Abacus Data says regionally the motion puts some members of Parliament in a difficult position. It doesn't mean they will lose the next election because of this, but it certainly might challenge their own values and those of the people they represent. This is all meant to shake up the establishment. You've got Guilbeault doubting Alberta will hold up its end of the deal. They had to force that in. I mean, this is why I love... Everybody asks, why do you use CBC? Well, like I said when we first introduced the article, it stops me from getting flagged for misinformation. But it also is funny to watch the CBC just seethe over this stuff as they're plainly admitting and having to document the hypocrisy of the Liberals that, hey, Mark Carney said we're going to build nation-building projects. We're going to fast-track all of these wonderful things that are going to grow Canada's economy while the Liberals continue to invest in Brookfield and print money and lower the value of our dollar and basically cause every issue that we have in this country with inflation, higher food prices, affordability of life, etc. By Tuesday, all of this is going to crumble, folks. It's all going to fall apart. Once it does, when you hear Danielle Smith saying, I support a strong Canada or a united Canada within a prosperous Alberta, whatever she said, I'm not even paying attention to it anymore. It's showing that it doesn't work. The country's broken. Mark Carney has destroyed Canada alongside Justin Trudeau in the last 10 years, and there is no fixing it, folks. Unless you get a government in that doesn't want to restrict how people make their livings, if they don't want to, they need to do what Pierre says, get out of the way, essentially. If they're not willing to get out of the way, this country is FUBAR. It's gone. Going to be real interesting to see what happens tomorrow, when this motion moves forward. But between now and then, folks, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you think it's going to get support, or do you think the Liberal Party is going to crumble, or do you think business as usual, nothing's going to happen? Let me know your thoughts down below. Just a friendly reminder, if you didn't see it on the overlay, folks, join me Wednesdays and Fridays on the channel for Unhinged Fringe and Friday Night Fringe as we talk about everything live that happened this week in politics with my co-hosts. We talk about everything that happened that's happening in those streams as well, while also listening to what you have to say outside of the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I always look forward to chatting with you guys in those live streams. I most importantly look forward to chatting with you this week, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.